Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome all of you back to my next The 5 list, presented to all of you here on YouTube. And today's list is going to be another one of those The 5 lists of me talking about 5 things I want to see in the next entry of a video game series. I've already done a few of these so far, like a couple months ago with the likes of Kingdom Hearts 3 and the next Smash Brothers and whatnot. And I think I might have did one more in there somewhere too, but I've been planning on getting back to it because I want to kind of give my opinions on some things I kind of want to see going forward with a lot of video game series from different companies and whatnot, and basically the 5 things that I personally want to see in the next entry of the series. Today's topic is going to be the Fire Emblem franchise. And it's been a series that's been around since 1990. It's had 15 games so far, the last one being the remake of Gaiden last year of Echo Shadows of Valentia on the 3DS. But Nintendo and Intelligent Systems has confirmed that a Fire Emblem game is confirmed and is coming out for the Switch, which would be the first console Fire Emblem game since Radiant Dawn on the Wii. So, and this is the 16th entry in the series, the Return to Home consoles, the next big entry, the next big new game from the Fire Emblem franchise, and it's going to be coming to the Switch sometime either later in 2018 or probably 2019. And we don't know anything about it yet, except that it's been confirmed that it's coming. We'll probably get some more information for it at, E3. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't mention anything at this recent Nintendo Direct. So I'm assuming almost guaranteed now we're probably going to get some information of it at E3 this year in a couple months. But till then, I am doing this video for the 5 things I want to see in Fire Emblem Switch. The 5 things I want to see in the next Fire Emblem game. And to start off, it's going to basically be what I mentioned in those little random rant discussion videos I did back, my first topic here that I did like a month or so ago about the complaining, about the Fire Emblem fan base being split up and everything like that. The first simple thing I want to see in this game is I want Nintendo and Intelligent Systems to find a way to balance out the new and the old. Try to bring in new features and bring in old features. Try to find a way to balance it out. And I know they've been kind of doing that with some of the later games, but I think they should continue to try and work on that so they can actually go and find a way so that there's not such a split in the fan base like it's been for the last couple of games with like Fates and Awakening and Echoes and whatnot, and Fire Emblem Warriors and everything, and spin-offs and Heroes and whatnot. Like, they need to try to find a way. The simple one, it's not even a feature in the game, but I think Nintendo and Intelligent Systems needs to find a way for them to balance out the game and try to include older features that fans would want, like the older fans would want, like difficulty, story, just good gameplay and whatnot. And a lot of the newer fans, like with the emphasis on the story and the characters and the extra stuff you could do outside of the story, and just trying to find a way to balance it out so it's like the full package of a Fire Emblem game, and it's not a Fire Emblem game that's just trying to be nostalgic and just trying to be all old, like, for the older fans and screwing the newer fans over, or vice versa. Try to find a way to balance it and try to maintain that type of, effort and that type of, gameplay and type of whatever the heck it takes to develop a Fire Emblem game, mesh it together so the series can go forward, with them trying to find a balance of what do the newer fans like and what do the older fans like. It's not even a specific feature name, not like I've talked about with like Smash Brothers or with Kingdom Hearts, and it's like little things in the story, little things in the gameplay, but just an overall thing for the game's development is I want them to try and put features and put gameplay and put thought into it on trying to see what do the older fans want and what do the newer fans want, and try to find a way to mesh that so you can mend this breaking dispute, this split between older and newer fans. Have like the difficulty settings and Phoenix mode and the emphasis on like the supports and everything, and then the hard settings you play on, the gameplay and the challenging gameplay and cool story and characters, and find a way for it to mix it so some of the newer stuff older fans can like and some of the older stuff newer fans can like, and find a way to mesh it so Fire Emblem series can go forward and find a way to break this split between the fans. That's the first thing I want them to try to do, is try to make this the be-all, end-all of a good Fire Emblem game overall. That's not straight for the old fans, not straight for the new fans, just a good overall game, because that will get everyone to enjoy it regardless, if you're a new or old fan. That's my first one, and I know I've talked about like 2 or 3 or 4 of my videos on that subject, but that's as simple as it is, and it's not a feature, like I said, but it's just that's my major thing I want them to do, is try to find a way to make sure it's just an overall good Fire Emblem game for everyone. My second one I want them to do is I don't want them to focus so much on nostalgia. I don't want this game to be featuring I mean, I'm not saying not to feature nostalgia at all, but I mean, like, try and make it a new game. Just try and make it a new story, new characters, and don't do anything reliant on, someone's related to Marth or Ulm. So bringing in Micaiah, bringing in Sigurd, bringing in Leif or Erika or Hector or Eli Wood or Roy, or having any of these characters really show up or somewhere in the story. I want it to be a full-fledged new game. I'm not saying not to have that stuff. You can pretty much maybe make it so you can unlock like Roy's sword or the Falchion or some of the old weapons from the games. You can maybe unlock them by doing side quests or whatever, or you can download them as DLC or something. But I don't want this game to be over-reliant on old stuff. I mean, maybe add some of that stuff on, as some little minor, like, unlockable things or DLC. But I want it to be a full-fledged new game. I want this series to go forward rather than jumping back and trying to go through old characters, which can be done like in spin-offs like Fire Emblem Warriors and Heroes, or as DLC, or when they finally get around to remaking the likes of Genealogy of the Holy War, or Thracia 776, or Blazing Sword, or Binding Blade, or whatever the heck else. Do that in remakes. Don't really do that in the new entries. And as far as we know, Fire Emblem 16 on Switch is going to be a new game. It's not a remake. They just remade, Gaiden. I don't think this next game is going to be a remake. It's going to be a full-fledged new game. It's going to be the return to home consoles. I don't want them to focus too much on the old stuff. Try and focus a lot on making the series go forward and making future stuff, but maybe allow you to unlock maybe Marth and Roy and Leif, or download Micaiah or Ike, or Corin or somebody. But I don't want them to focus on old stuff. I mean, unlock their weapons, unlock their bonus maps and the characters and everything, and armors and whatnot. But don't try to make it like a nostalgia-based game, kind of like what Awakening was. Awakening was like returning the series back to like Marth's games, which not only because it's a sequel and Lucina and Cromwell are Marth's great-grandchildren, but it was a very simplistic Fire Emblem game, like how Marth's 2 games were. So try to make it more of a new game and expand it and push the story forward and stuff like that, but not over-rely yourself on old stuff. That's the second one. The third one relates to DLC. I want there to be better DLC in this game. I'm not saying that Fire Emblem hasn't had good DLC a whole lot lately. I'm not saying that at all. Because since they started pushing DLC since Awakening, it's been pretty good overall. And Awakening had a lot of good DLC because it did have a lot of ability. You could download a lot of bonus maps and the ability to play as the older characters and whatnot. I'm not saying that to have that. It correlates with my old idea, what I said the second one, don't over-rely on it. But still maybe include some stuff here and there, especially as DLC. Maybe so people that want the older characters can buy as DLC and stuff like that. But focus on it being like just good DLC that's interesting, because really Fate's DLC wasn't all that interesting, and Echo's DLC, the only thing really interesting was the Fire Emblem Cypher, whatever that card game from, it's pretty much exclusive in Japan, featuring all those characters in it. That was pretty much the only good DLC from that. And Fate's was here and there. Awakening actually had some pretty good DLC. I want them to focus on actually making the next game have DLC that's actually, it's well-rounded DLC. For people that want the nostalgia factor, bring in some older characters from some people that want, like, maybe just original new characters in general, bonus maps, challenges, maybe side stories, maybe like a little small campaign or something, like fun DLC that's well-priced. I know people say that Fire Emblem DLC is expensive, and it kind of is, but if it was better, that price would make sense and still be worth it. So better price DLC for what you're getting, and make sure the DLC is actually, quite good, because I want to see like stuff that for the intelligent systems and Nintendo to expand post-game, like releasing, like giving some DLC so people who finish the story and do all the side quests and everything can actually do that. But they have all that stuff, but if they still want to play the game afterwards instead of replaying the story and replaying all the same stuff they've done for a while, I would like to see them actually do, you can give the gamers something new, but make sure it's actually fun DLC that people want, and expand upon it and have variety in it, rather than just little bonus maps here and there that pretty much are just to do, to get gold or to grind your soldiers' experience and everything. It's basically all that stuff really is for. Give us the ability to unlock these characters. Give us the ability to unlock armors and weapons, the ability to do some story stuff and everything, and whatever the heck else. Just make it good DLC. Make it like Awakening, but improve upon it. Make it just more bang for your buck and a lot of original new stuff, and just more. Because the DLC should be like original, stand out, expand upon the experience, and not just be little minor things. Really, and I think Fire Emblem really kind of deserves that. So think intelligent systems, Think more Awakening and less Fates and Echoes. That's all I'm saying. But still, mesh them together and find something new. I'm not saying do the same thing over and over again. So that's my third one. My fourth one, I want them to expand upon the stuff outside the story. I know a lot of purists and old school Fire Emblem fans just want them to focus on the gameplay and just the story mode and everything like that, but I think it's that the game series overall has been getting better since they've started expanding stuff and allowing you to do side quest missions and online stuff and building your own castles and building supports and getting married and having children, building your castle, setting up shops, buying armors, customizing your soldiers, going online and stuff like that. I would love to see them expand on the stuff you can do outside your story. I love Fire Emblem for the story and the characters and everything, but if we only do the story mode, it doesn't give the game too much replay value except for you playing on a harder difficulty or stuff like that. And also, a lot of characters in your armies go untouched because they might be interesting in a story. Like, you will focus so much on using a certain unit here or there, and some units just disappear from you because you don't use them, so they kind of fall behind in terms of leveling. And then you don't see some of these characters anyways because a lot of characters just get added in, are in for a chapter or two, and then they don't become important at all, and they're just side characters thrown in the back of the thing. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing from the older Fire Emblems, but what I've liked about them since they've done Awakening and Fates and Echoes is kind of allow you to have the support system outside the game. The ability in like Fates to build your own castles, the ability to go online and battle other armies and stuff like that, and make friends and stuff like that. Expand on the online features like for that too. Like you can go online, you could build guilds, you could build armies, like you can do like in any MMORPG or when you build a clan in a first-person shooter or some other kind of game, a clan type thing of a guild or an army where you build your armies together and you can battle other people online and you can connect to them, you could sell them stuff, they could trade them stuff. Just overall, expand on the stuff we could do out of the story, which has been expanding over the last couple of games, but I'd like to see them expand upon that even more because I would like to see more stuff to do outside the story, because when you don't want to do the story, you can do side quests, you can grind your soldiers, you can do support systems, you can build up relationships. If they have children in the game, which I know people are going to condemn if they do, but regardless if they have children or not, build up support systems. You could maybe get characters get married and whatnot. Marriage doesn't automatically in these games have to lead to children. They could also not have children units, but allow your units to get married and stuff like that. Allow them to work better on the battlefield together. Allow us to do stuff outside the story. If we don't want to go to the next chapter and continue the story, we can do the side stuff. And once we beat the story mode, we can still do this other stuff like building our castle and making friends online and building guilds and doing bonus missions and side quests through the DLC. Like I mentioned in my third option, more DLC post-game. And maybe the ability to unlock stuff to do after you beat the campaign, after you beat the story mode. So, like, I would love to see them just take what they've done with Awakening Fates, Echoes to some extent, which didn't have too much, but it had some, but especially Awakening and Fates, and just expand upon that, but still have the core Fire Emblem gameplay. So you're getting both, best of both worlds, and it's more bang for your buck, more replay value. I want more stuff to do outside the story, because once you beat the story and there's nothing else to do, you beat the freaking game. You could go through again on a harder difficulty or challenge yourself using certain units, but it's like, I would like to have ability to do that and more. So I want them to expand upon the stuff, like more online stuff too, and whatnot, like they did with Fates. So there's that. There's my fourth one. And my fifth one, and this relates back to Fates too, but only to some extent, I want to see them do a different theme. I want to see them actually go and like what they do with Pokemon now. The first 4 generations of Pokemon were based off locations in Japan, but they started doing stuff based off New York and Hawaii and, you know, France and whatnot. So now they're doing regions based off different parts of the world. But Fire Emblem is mostly like a medieval European fantasy type element. Think like Game of Thrones. Think of like Lord of the Rings. Stuff like that where it's like knights and clerics and mages fighting dragons and evil armies and other nations and people getting killed and all these. Some of them have pretty dark stories. So especially some of the older ones like Genealogy and whatnot. I would like to see them, but like I said, that's basically the staple of the series. And I'm not saying to get rid of it, but I would like to see new Fire Emblem games kind of include different settings, different environments. Maybe set one like in Egypt. Maybe set one like in like a jungle environment, like an African jungle environment or something. You know, maybe make a modern day one. Like maybe make like an Advanced Wars version of Fire Emblem. And if you don't want to go super modern day combat like tanks and military and stuff like that, like in Advanced Wars, you could do something that's like a a World War I, World War II, where it's not super advanced technology, but it has like tanks and whatnot. So like a Valkyria Chronicles, but set like in a fantasy element, where you could probably still include dragons and everything when you just fight dragons inside a tank and stuff like that. I would love to see a new setting, because one thing I loved about Fates was Hoshido, was that Japanese, Asian, type of setting and type of continent and kingdom with your ninjas and your samurais and all these class types that are based off like, ancient, like some sort of Asian like mythology or some sort of something from culture, from like a Japanese culture and whatnot. I've liked seeing something different, because while I do love seeing the European medieval fantasy type element, I do think they should expand upon it. And I don't think they should ever get rid of that, but I think they could always change it up here and there and still include elements of that type of setting in games, even when they go more so away from it. So never get rid of it completely. Always have elements of like dragons and knights and clerics and cavaliers and spear users and lance users and magic users, people who can turn into dragons and other type of animals and all that fantasy element type stuff. That should never be excluded from the series, but I do think they should try to take like advantage of trying to change up the setting every once in a while, so the games are kind of feeling different. And some that can also give us, like we said with the Hoshido army, different class types that do different things and different types of weapon types too. So that's all I'm saying. Like, change up the setting every once in a while. I'm not saying necessarily with this new game, although I would love to see 16 be something brand new environment. But continue with the series in the future. Even if you don't do it in 16, do it in the future one, like 17, 18, 19, 20. A new Fire Emblem. Just try it every now and then to make sure the setting and the environment is a bit different. That's all I'm saying. And those are my 5 things I want to see in Fire Emblem Switch. The next Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem 16, I want to see a better set of DLC. I want to see them expand upon that and try to make it so it's more worth it and more interesting. I want to see them expand the stuff outside the story modes, so to be able to do online, build castles, make friends, and build in your supports and everything. I want to see a new setting. So every now and then you can have something different to look at. I want them to balance out the users, the old and the new. The content in the game for old and the new, and I don't want them to focus on nostalgia. I don't want them to focus on bringing characters back just for the sake of it, or having the story be a sequel to, Roy's game, where now we have Roy's kid, and just don't focus on nostalgia. Completely new game. Those are my opinions. Put in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys agree with these 5 things? What do you want to see in Fire Emblem 16 on the Switch? The next Fire Emblem. What do you want to see from this series? Put in the comment section below. We can discuss it there. My name is Sniper. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day, and see you all later. Bye.